Good morning. I wanted to talk about this Triumph Scrambler 1200XC. This is a stunningly beautiful motorcycle. I haven't really met anybody that thinks in any way that it's unattractive. Really enjoying the modern vibe of having a retro bike that looks old and kind of classic lines but is filled with modern technology. And Triumph seem to be experts at this. It is filled with premium features that aren't immediately apparent. My one here has got a few upgrades and additions, but we'll talk about some of the standard things. So things like this brushed aluminium. That's not plastic, that's quality gear. We've got a aluminium skid plate, or aluminum as my American friends would say. Little heat shield here. All these little parts that just make it. These are fake carburetors. This is of course a modern motorcycle with fuel injection, so the carburetors ain't a thing. Again, the polished aluminium on the rear mudguard. It's just quality gear. Even the fuel cap. Got this little strap, which is more for aesthetics than practical purposes. Just breaks the centre line of the fuel tank. And then this is my favourite colour by far, the British Racing Green with the matte at the back, the gloss at the front. Very, very pretty bike. It's not just pretty, but extraordinarily capable as well. So, talk about a few of the extras that it's got. Well, a few of the normal features. This is a parallel twin 1200cc engine. High power, as they call it. That's why it's got a little HP. The Bonneville engine, which appears in a range of their bikes. This is putting out roughly 90 brake horsepower and 90 foot-pounds of torque, which isn't a lot by modern standards, but believe you me, it's a very flat torque curve. The power's instantly available from very low down, and it hustles along very pleasantly. Not the fastest bike on the road, but by no means the slowest. It will keep up with pretty much anything unless you are going berserk. It is liquid cooled, but those fins aren't just for show. They do actually have some depth to them, so they're going to help to cool the bike down, but it is predominantly a liquid cooled bike. Nice. I mean, it's just the quality. I'll give them that. It's just so nice. There's no plasticky kind of crap. It's just really well made. And then these little features here, like the way that collapses. This is a legitimate off-road vehicle. I've seen various comparisons between these and other adventure bikes, and basically the thinking is that this is just a naked adventure bike that will go head-to-head with things like an Africa Twin or a KTM. Not in terms of outright power for the KTM, but in terms of where you can ride it. It's got the same sort of ground clearance, same kind of suspension travel. It just hasn't got all the fairing to protect you from the elements, that's all. And the exhaust means that you can't carry quite as much stuff, but we'll get back to that. So the standard exhaust here, high level. That's one of the features that makes it look scramblery. This is a non-standard Arrow aftermarket exhaust that gives a little bit more of a rumble. But that limits what you can put on the back. You can get large contraptions that come out here, but it looks kind of crap. So I have on order a bracket for here where I'll be able to mount a hard case on that side, which make it a little bit off centre, but it works because the back of the bike's a little off centre with the exhaust there. Okay, so what extras does this have? It's got the headlight protector, which just adds to the look, I think. Coming will be a dart short windscreen, because that looks kind of naff. The beauty of the rest of the bike, then they've got just this kind of back of the instrument panel is just a bit crap. So that's going to come with a little bit of a screen to cover that, but also to give a little bit of wind protection, because over 70 miles an hour is, with all unfaired bikes, it's a bit The crash handlebar protectors, again, brushed aluminium. These are substantial units, not just plasticky kind of garbage. This is actual substantial stuff, and it looks great too, I think. This little bar end thing with the Triumph logo just the matching colour for the brown seat. It's great. Arrow exhaust, extra rumbles. Bobbins there in case it falls over to protect it. And little bobbins there to lift it up on a jack in order to service the rear wheel. Comes standard with Öhlins suspension, adjustable preload and rebound, so you can adjust it pretty easily depending on what surface you're riding on. The front, this is the XC model, so this is the more road going version. The XE is the more off-road version, so the XE has upgraded front suspension over this with a little bit more suspension, but being honest, I'm going to ride this a lot more on the road than off-road, so it makes sense for me to have the more road-going version. Brembo calipers, I mean, you don't get any better than that. The little ABS indicators. Now, Triumph have been really clever. What they've done, you can see here on the front, spoked wheels, but they've actually mounted the spokes on the outside of the tyre, both front and rear. Here. So what that means is you can fit tubeless tyres to your spoked wheel, and this is, as far as I'm aware, the only manufacturer that have come to this rather elegant solution to open up the number of tyres you can fit, because if it was just a spoked wheel, you'd be limited which tyres. It'd all have to be tubed tyres. But I have a choice. I can put tube tyres or tubeless. These are currently standard equivalent, the Metzler Tourants, which don't get good reviews for off-road capability. They're fine on road. They kind of got the look of off-road. I'll probably, when these wear out, switch them out for the Pirelli, which will be a little bit more capable off-road, as and when I do actually do that. Very pretty looking swing arm. Again, even the welds, I mean, they're just the attention to just the minor things. So these fold in case you do drop it, you don't snap them off. I'm going to get crash bars, the Triumph crash bars that are going to come around here. You get other ones that come up here, but I don't like the look of them as much. They'll come down here. Trying to stand up a little bit. Oh, yeah, attention to detail here. So this side panel just pops off here. And right there, look, comes as standard with the battery charger. So I didn't have to buy one. It just comes already with that. So you can... I just think that's... I mean, it costs them nothing in terms of the manufacturer, but that's a nice little extra they just have on there for you so that you're not worried about your battery going flat when you're not riding it. So this comes with 5 rider modes. I was going to say that it's packed with technology. It is. Oh, this has also got the little side panels there. So packed with rider modes. It's got a keyless ignition. So turn it on, and it wakes up. And then I've got this little menu thing here, and I can scroll through all these different menus, looking at all different things and adjusting it. I can go to the different rider modes, the bike setup, the trip setup, display setup. So for example, the riding modes, click on that. I've got rider, which is one where I set the parameters within certain things. I've got rain, which is basically it dials the power back and the throttle response a little bit, and the ABS is, and the traction control is on maximum. Road is maximum power, softer throttle feel, ABS and traction control engaged. Sport is a little bit more abrupt on the throttle, but that's how I like it. It kind of pops and barks a little bit. And then off-road is basically where you turn the traction control and ABS off at the rear wheel, enabling you to slide that around. It will still stay on the front, which to me is only a good thing, but hey. Or rider is where I can kind of make my own. You've got a couple of different options for the display. Where are we? There we are. So you've got a display, you can have the theme. So you've got a couple of things. Theme 2, we go back to the original. It looks like that. Which is kind of old school, which is fine if you like that. You've got the rev counter on the far left. You've got this very old looking odometer in the centre, and some odd little bits and pieces inside, but I don't like it. I like my more modern option, oops, which is theme 1. There we go. See if it goes back to that. Yep. So you've got the odometer, which is in the. You don't actually get that. Well, yeah, right in the centre there. Actually, that's not the odometer. That's just a trip. You have to kind of turn the bike off and off. You've got fuel gauge on the far left. I like keeping it on the miles per gallon. So, whoop, that's the indicator. The indicators are intelligent as well. All the blinkers. 48 miles per gallon. That's amazing considering how I ride this thing. That's really, really good. And then when you start it up, because I know you want to hear it, you just have to press and hold the clutch because it's a Triumph. Doesn't want to focus. So that 270-degree crank. I lost the focus. Come on, focus on the bike. Focus. There we go. Nope, it doesn't like it. That 270-degree crank really sounds fantastic. I'm trying to get. There we go. Really sounds very special indeed. Now, a common complaint of these bikes is this here. This is where the catalytic converter sits. This, you unscrew this kind of pops off, and you can see it just sits right there, which is right where my leg sits. And not too bad in the winter, but this thing gets hot. We're talking nearly 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which it has to do in order to work. So a common not upgrade, but modification is to buy. Ow, wow, that's unsurprising. Is to buy a different set of headers. You only go to about there, and you remove the cat. So you take off the cat, which ruins the emissions a little bit, but it doesn't blast out all this heat. You actually release a little bit more power, and it sounds fantastic. I have to say, even nicer than those Arrow cans. So that will be on my list of things to do. So Triumph Scrambler 1200 XC. This is a fantastic motorcycle. I am enjoying it very, very much. This, by the way, is just what I use. I have an airbag vest that attaches onto the bike. So if I'm separated from the bike, the airbag will deploy, protect my neck and my back. So that's not part of the bike. That's just how I set the airbag off. One other little thing that's a bit kind of weird. Well, it has like a USB port under here, which is kind of weird, but not really worth showing you. Fantastic bike. Love riding it. Love listening to it. Love looking at it. It's the kind of bike that when you park it up, you can't help but turn around and look at it. Anywho, I will keep you updated with any adventures that I go on with this thing, which I completely intend to do. Because it really is a go-anywhere bike, despite how it looks. Or perhaps because of how it looks. Oh crap, I didn't mention. 17-inch rear wheel, 21-inch front wheel, which just gives an indication as to its off-road capability. It makes riding it a little weird for me, because I'm used to the 17s front and rear, so it doesn't turn in quite as I'm used to, but that doesn't mean it's bad, that just means it's different. Anyway, great bike. Love this bike. Leave any questions or comments underneath as to any mods you've done if you've got one, any things you'd recommend, any things you wouldn't do. If you think there's a better bike, I will argue with you about that. I did a lot of research as to what I was going to get as a Scrambler. I really wanted a Scrambler. So let me know what you think.